So you're new to Genshin, you're doing some temples in the current banner, and while you don't get a 5-star, you do get 4-star Kachina, or you last long enough into the Archon Quest in Natlan to get your free Kachina, making the Archon Quest Kachina's quest, because we all know that Kachina is the real star of the Natlan quest. Now, what do you get with Kachina besides the newest chibi character, and she is probably my favorite chibi character? Well, Kachina is a polearm wielding Geo user who might be the best support character, or one of the best support characters for Navia. And in this video, we're going to look at the basics of Kachina. Now, just like always, we are first going to review or show the Kachina that we are using for this video. This is my Kachina, so let's take a look at my Kachina. My Kachina is level 60 out of 70 with 14,000 HP, 1100 attack, and 1200 defense, and 0 EM. Let's let her finish her breakdance. It's such a great idle animation. Okay, her split is 60.9 over 148.9 with 105 energy recharge, and then she does not have a Geo Goblet. She is running a level 70 R1 deathmatch only for the crit rate. We're going to talk about weapons later. This is not particularly a great weapon for her. It's just a polearm that I had lying around. You might be wondering, hey, why don't you use the free Natlan craftable spear? We're going to talk about that. Next, artifacts. I am running 4-piece husk on her. I had husk lying around. Basically what Chiori is going to get whenever I get an onset goblet. But I just threw it onto her for right now. We are going to talk about other artifact sets later. She has C3, her talent's 141. I just finished leveling up Milani. Now I'm going to start working on Kachina. Now, we are real quick going to take a look at her passives. The first passives, after nearby party members trigger a Night Soul burst, which may or may not be any burst with a Natlan character in your party. It may not have to be just Natlan characters. Could be anybody as long as you have a Natlan character. I might be wrong on that. Then Kachina's Geo damage bonus is going to go up by 20% for 12 seconds. And then number 2, Turbo Twirly, which is her skills, kind of. Damage is increased by 20% of her defense. Yes, Kachina is a defense scaling character. Now, her last passive has to deal with, if you watch the Natlan trailer, then like whenever the characters took the field in a very different way, that is what this passive is. And there is a way to trigger it in the party that I'm using in here. I could not for the life of me get it to trigger. I haven't quite figured out how to trigger it outside of Natlan characters, right? There is a way to trigger it. There is a way for my Chiori into Kachina to trigger it, and I was doing it consistently the other day, and I could not recreate it for this video. If you know exactly what that is, like how that is, where the movement from a talent being Chiori's throwing weapon and going into Kachina was triggering it consistently for me, I could not get it to trigger here. Put down in the comments what it is or what I'm doing wrong. Now, before we actually go look at Kachina's kit and her skill, I do want to talk about a couple things. One, the bar above her HP, that orange bar, is Phlogiston, or however it's said. I know I'm mispronouncing it. That is not the Night Soul energy. This bar next to Kachina is the Night Soul energy. So I want to make sure that we are looking at those as two different bars. In Natlan, once you use up the Night Soul bar, it will start using up the Phlogiston bar. Outside of Natlan, that is not the case, right? So it is meant to make traversing the world easier. As you can see, there is an exploration characteristic to her skill where she'll sit on the drill. And then it's also really, really good for breaking up these ores and stuff. But no, outside of Natlan, this bar is not gonna be here. It's just gonna be her Night Soul bar. So if you're accustomed to fighting with her in Natlan or any of the other Natlan characters and you leave, you might notice that their skills aren't lasting as long. That is because this bar at the bottom is mainly meant to be used for exploration, not actually the damage that you're gonna be doing with these characters. So Kachina's normal attacks are going to be normal. I do like the animation though because it kind of incorporates the breakdancing. Her charge attack is going to be the corkscrew version of the charge attack for polearms. Her skill is where we start getting to the fun part of her kit. Her skill is going to summon the Turbo Twirly. If you just hit E, then it's just going to summon it. She's going to yell, "Let it rip," like a Beyblade. And it is going to do intermittent Geo damage in an AoE. If you hit E again, you can actually hop on it and control it. If you just hold E from the very beginning instead of just tapping it, then whenever you summon it, Kachina will be on it. When she is on it, she can actually do her normal attacks to do AoE Geo damage and a pretty good AoE. It is going to use up more Night Soul energy or more Night Soul points to do that, whereas if you just have it on the field, and it does the intermittent, it will last longer. Now you can swap to another character with the Turbo Twirly on the field and it will stay still doing intermittent geo damage, as well as it is considered a geo construct. So as you can see, Chiori has 2 dolls, which is only possible because my Chiori is C0, with a geo construct. So it does consider the Turbo Twirly a geo construct. So it works really, really well with Chiori. Now, if we use her burst, she's going to summon the Turbo Twirly and going to slam into the ground, dealing AoE geo damage. If you have a Turbo Twirly that exists on the field and then you use her burst, it will be teleported to her. So you can have it somewhere else on the field. If you see it over there and another enemy spawn up over here, you can use her burst and it will move over to where she is at. Now you might be asking, why in the world would she be considered a great support character for somebody like Navia when nothing in her kit involves buffing a character? It's because of one of the new artifact sets that is going to work phenomenally with Kachina and Navia, or in my case, Chiori and Noelle. So before we look at artifacts, I do want to show that she is defense scaling on both her skill and her burst damage. So I am running 4-piece husk. Like I said, this is kind of just like the pieces that I have lying around waiting for Chiori to get either a really good defense sands or a good onset Geo Goblet. That is why I'm running husk on her. It's not going to be her best set. Her best set is actually going to be one of the new sets from Natlan. It is going to be the Scrolls of the Hero of Cinder City. I think people are just going to be calling it Cinder. The 2-piece set, when a nearby party member triggers a Night Souls burst, again, which I believe is going to not necessarily be her burst. It's going to be anybody's burst if there's a Natlan character in there. I was reading a Reddit post on it earlier. They're going to gain energy. Now the 4-piece set, after the equipping character triggers a reaction related to their element type, being Geo, all nearby party members gain a 12% elemental damage bonus for the elemental types involved in the reaction. So in this current party, I am using Farina and then 3 Geo characters. So if she causes a crystallized reaction, it is going to buff up the Geo characters as well as Farina's Hydro. If the equipping character is in the Night Soul's Blessing state, which we happen to trigger whenever we use her skill, when triggering this effect, all nearby party members gain an additional 28% elemental damage bonus of the elemental types involved in the reaction for 20 seconds. The equipping character can trigger this even if they're not on the field, and it cannot stack, so you can only have one of these in your party. So she is going to be buffing Navia's Geo damage bonus by another 40%. That is crazy good. And in a team with like mono Geo, right? Just Farina, Chiori, Kachina, and then Noelle. Then Kachina herself, Chiori, and Noelle are going to be getting a Geo damage bonus, and Farina is going to be getting the Hydro damage bonus. So this is a really, really good artifact set. It's going to be phenomenal for buffing. And if you have her at C4, which I kind of skipped over the constellations, she's going to give a defense buff. So that's not going to be as great for Navia. It's going to be great for other defense scaling characters like Chiori, Albedo, and then Kachina herself. Now for the stats, she is going to want like a defense sands, a Geo Goblet, and then a crit rate or crit damage circlet. I don't think I showed them. I think I got too distracted by this artifact. But that's what you want. I'll put them up on the screen. Now, for weapons, I was running a deathmatch for the crit rate. It does get up defense a little bit, but the reason that I'm not using the Natlan Craftable Spear is because I missed the web event. I know, you would think that I wouldn't, but I did. So I just had an extra deathmatch lying around, and I went ahead and gave it to Kachina to get a good crit split. Now, we are going to go look at the Natlan Craftable Spear because it will be one of, if not her best weapons, especially for dealing some good damage. Now the Natlan Craftable Spear is going to be the footprint of the rainbow. It actually fits her design really, really well. It gets up defense, and then after using her skill, it gets up defense again. So you're gonna be able to stack a ton of defense onto Kachina, and it's gonna be really, really good. This is gonna be a phenomenal free-to-play option and not free-to-play option for Kachina. Now, I do think that Kachina is going to work fairly well in a lot of teams. I don't think it's going to have to just work with Navia or just work in a mono Geo team. I think that this artifact set is going to be very, very good for her because you will be able to kind of control what crystallized reaction you get, and then that buff lasts for 20 seconds, right? So I think that she is going to be a phenomenal buffer with this set regardless. It's going to be a very, very good option for Kachina to slot into any team, right? So it's going to be very interesting to see how people use Kachina. I think that I am going to stick with her being in this Farina Chiori Noelle team, because I've been wanting to run this team for a while, and this is a really, really cool team. So that's going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, do be sure to leave it down in the comments. Myself or someone else will be sure to answer it, and I'll see you in the next one.